Hi, Cole. Hey,
Hello.
Lynn.
Good. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Uh, we're doing pretty good.
Great. Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, I think we're getting ready here. Just kind of get yourself situated and comfortable there. Uh,
Okay.
Cole, where are you calling us from?
Uh, my room. Oh, here, I'll move.
Well, yes, I kind of meant more geographically, like
Oh,
as in.
sorry. Oldham County, like Kentucky.
Okay, yeah, right. Great. So you're here in the Louisville area.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Very good. Well, I think we've got some masterclass information here from students. We've got some the scores available for us. Cole, what will you play today?
Uh, well, I'll try and play Capriccio Arve by Tarragon. So,
Taraga, yeah, very good, very good. Lynn McGrath is on the call with us today, and Lynn, among her many talents, is also fluent in Spanish, so she can kind of help us with our Spanish pronunciation if we have troubles with that.
yeah, I'm sure I'll pronounce lots of things wrong. So.
But that's okay. That's how we learn how to pronounce them then as we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Exactly. I've done presentations to guitarists on how to pronounce a lot of these things, and I've heard a lot of professionals pronounce them completely the wrong way. So it's totally part of the learning process, but it's cool. It's cool to care.
That's well said, Lynn. That's exactly right.
Good to meet you, Cole. Good to meet you.
Good to meet you too. So I'm confused. How does this work?
Yeah, that's a great question. It will work very much like a traditional masterclass would. You're here in the virtual space, but we're going to hear you play a full performance all the way through. Lynn and I will write down some notes and things like that on our scores. And then when you're finished playing, the whole audience here will give you a big round of applause and everything virtually. And then we'll give you some feedback. And we'll have you play some passages again, maybe as we make some adjustments and whatnot to your playing or make some suggestions. And I'm going to suggest, Cole, especially since you're here in the Louisville area, we're team teaching this, Lynn and I. We're longtime collaborators and great friends, but we will have many different ideas. And the great thing about that is that you're going to get a wealth of information from two master teachers. But I'm going to let Lynn lead your lesson mostly because this is maybe once in a lifetime opportunity to hear Lynn's great observations on your playing in a virtual environment. And let's hope the next time you have Lynn in a master class, it's face to face and she can just, move your hands to where she wants them to be and get that great tone out of your guitar and everything. Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. All right, Cole. So let's just see. We're just waiting a little bit. We have, I guess, one more panelist we're waiting on. We're going to be ready in just a minute.
Well, see, I was confused because I thought there was going to be wasn't there 3 other people that were signed up for this time also?
That's right. Yeah, and they will be on this call too. So I'm just going to suggest, we have the panels that we do, and time is limited. So if Sophia isn't on in the panel in a couple minutes, then we'll just go ahead and get started. And if she's not able to join us, then your time will just be extended.
Okay, cool.
But we're just trying to get everyone on the call who needs to be. Of course, it takes a little while sometimes. I know every time I try to open Zoom or Teams or something, if I need to open it in 5 minutes, it will take 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I've even had times when my commute to work in person would have taken less time than open. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Yeah, we're able to go ahead and get started. I have the score here in front of me. Lynn, are you set with the score? Do you have?
Yeah, I have it as a PDF on the computer, so I'll just be toggling back and forth. And
sure.
And then I just wanted to ask though first, ask Ross. So if I wanted to show something, would I have? Looks like I wouldn't have or would I have the option to share screen if I wanted to notate something on a digital score?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
Just wanted to check that so then I can make some potentially make some notations on the actual PDF. And then
Sure.
yeah, I just wanted Cole, can you just double check your tuning before you start? That would
Yeah.
be awesome. That should be a good time to do that. Cool.
And yeah, guys, I apologize. So we're working out a couple of little technical kinks here. We
Okay.
are pretty much ready to go. Um,
Okay. Good.
Mike, if you can hear me over there on your side, go ahead and stop your video share. And it looks like Mike that we're gonna have some screen sharing happening. So be prepared to hit the gallery view from your side for the restream purposes and the live stream stuff that we're running here. And we've got so many little, it's like chutes and ladders over here. So,
Oh, sure.
so we're making it work. But I think everybody's here. Hi, Sophie.
There
And
she
hey,
is. Yeah.
Cole. It's good to see you guys. So I believe we are ready to go. I'll go ahead and just do a very brief introduction if that's okay with you, Dr. Mattingly,
Absolutely.
and we'll get this thing started. So, hello and welcome everybody who are participating in this wonderful masterclass and this wonderful festival put on by Dr. Stephen Mattingly. We're so grateful to him and so grateful to you all for being here with us. If you're watching on the Zoom webinar, feel free to type in a chat and just let us know you're here and say where you're calling in from and where you're joining us from. That'd be great to see. And if you have any questions, feel free to type them in as well, because you are part of this class. Even though your video might not be up here on the screen, you are a part of what we're doing here. You're part of the community, and this is what it's all about. There will be a little bit of time at the end, actually, for some Q&A with our two wonderful professors and artists here today. And look at that. We've already got some people coming in from Peru. Welcome. Nice to see you. Nice to have you in this call with us. But let's not waste too much time with introductions. Let's just get right into it. I know why we're all here. So let's just start off by introducing our two performers. We have two performers in this first master class. The first one is Cole Anderson. Just say hi, Cole.
Hello.
And then the second is Sophia. Sophia, if you wouldn't mind going ahead and putting on your video, that would be wonderful just for our live stream purposes. All right, so and I'm sure she will do that when she can, so we're not gonna worry about it too much, but let's just go ahead and kick it off. I think Cole is playing Capriccio Arabe. So any questions or thoughts or anything anybody wants to add before we start?
Well, Ross, just thank you for that introduction. And I just want to kind of elaborate upon that and just
Sure.
say what an honor it is here to be a part of Etudes co-hosting of this, but to be here with Lynn McGrath, my longtime friend and quartet mate and just an all-around fantastic colleague. Dr. McGrath is at the Eastman School in their community education division, their community school. Lynn, you can correct me on the exact name of that if I'm wrong. I might have to send my Eastman degrees back or something. But but Lynn is doing some phenomenal teaching there and all over the place. She's been a big part of the guitar community from the GFA to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and she's been really a fantastic force in guitar education. So I look forward to what she has to impart on us. She's already given us the great bit of advice that we should all take to heart. Tune your guitar. So she's asked Cole to tune his guitar. He's done that. I think we're ready to go.
I love it.
Great.
All right. Cole, are
Can
you
you
ready?
hear me? Oh, no.
Well, we
Yeah.
can hear you.
Okay. I'm not lagging anymore, I don't think.
Good.
Yeah,
All right.
you're good. Whenever you're ready, man, you've got the floor.
Hey Cole, can you adjust your camera just a little bit so we can see your right hand a bit better? Is that possible? Maybe, or even maybe back up away from the camera just a touch. There we go. Yeah, we can see your hands.
Get back.
Yeah, yeah, that's great.
There. Where? Okay.
Bravo, Cole. That was fantastic.
Thanks.
Great.
Really
Yeah.
fabulous playing, Cole.
Very good.
Thanks.
You obviously work really hard. You put in a lot of hours on the instrument, and but beyond that, there are a lot of people who put in a lot of time. They do the work, but I can tell that you really feel it. Like you love this music, don't you?
Yeah, I love it. I got nervous and I start forgetting stuff, but
Yeah, you know what? It's because you care. That's the way I look at it. It's because you care and you're trying to craft something exactly a certain way. And that's a natural thing to feel nervous. And the more you practice doing it, pretty much the easier it gets. I mean, things can change, but just you're doing the right thing by putting yourself out there and sharing this music you love with people. Yeah, it can be nerve wracking, but I thought you were steady. I mean, really, you seemed really in control most of the time. And yeah, those little glitches, no big deal. I mean, we can hear the music, we can hear the flow, we can hear that you care about these things and that you've worked hard to craft, and that's awesome. So yeah, so many good things. So yeah, so since like our goal here is to like, hey, just give you some different ways of looking at things. I mean, I would say, like, there's no question in my mind, you must be working with an awesome teacher. And because I can tell someone's worked with you to really help you. We don't do anything all on our own, do we?
Do you know Chris Roseland?
Ah, I know that guy. Awesome. Well, what a great human being. and someone who's very knowledgeable and a phenomenal player. And obviously you've been learning a lot and listening to him, and that's awesome to hear. And just like Dr. Mattingly said, we might have some differing opinions. I mean, you know, Mr. Roslin and I probably, we have a lot of similar opinions in some things, but we might have some different opinions. So I always like to say, these are just things to try. And then, you know I've come from Masterclasses and said, oh yeah, that was great. And then I get home and I'm like, oh, that didn't quite work for me. What I say might not work for every single person. So I don't expect you to, change everything if I gave you, a different way to play things, especially when it's really like some things are objective and some things are more subjective.
Yeah.
Some things really are just opinion and the way we interpret certain things, certain contexts. So anyway, enough of that. I want to jump right in right now. And again, just beautiful playing. I love the general tempo. I love the feel. I love the how expressive you are. And I think what I want to do is I think I want to start at the beginning. I know it's like it's just easier to start at the beginning. It's right here on my page. So one of the things that I noticed is that, with a piece like this, as you probably know, it's almost like we're riding sometimes on a little hill. Like I don't know if you ever rollerbladed, skateboarded, biked, anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, when you're just kind of coasting and sometimes you get a little bit of a hill and you can just kind of let yourself slightly slow down, and then you get a little downward and you feel gravity just pulling on you downward, and you get that little acceleration of tempo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think when we're trying to do that with music, sometimes it can start to feel artificial. It can start to feel like, oh, I'm supposed to get faster here because it's exciting, or I'm supposed to get slower here because it's dramatic, or I'm supposed to sit on this note because it's just a cool note. And yeah, there's a lot of that. But what happens is, in a lot of music, we want to make sure that when we're doing that we're not coming to a stop, that we're not, unless it's really indicated, unless it's a really super like that's the one moment in that particular passage. So a lot of times what happens is the technique itself starts to define where we slow down and where we speed up. So you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Do you feel like that happens in some of those passages where it's kind of like the technique has an impact on where you're deciding to slow down or speed up?
Well, one thing I've always had trouble with on this piece, like I started out on electric guitar. I still have electric guitar left hand. It's not.
I actually have that on my notes. I wrote electric guitar left hand because I can tell right away looking at your hand that you played on the electric guitar. So you do a lot of this, which, hey, I have to say, it helps you move fast. You've got a beautiful lightness and speed. But what do you know? What does that do to your left hand technique? What are the things that you're working against right now?
It can make really terrible slurs sometimes. I don't know.
It can sometimes make good slurs though too. So fundamentally, what do you think the electric guitar hand is doing that's hurting you? If you had to think about, I know I'm putting you on the spot here, man, but that's what it's all about. So what do you think it is that you need to work against from your electric guitar hand? Is it a position that you're using? Is it where your hand goes after you play a note? After your fingers, where do your fingers go after a note?
The main thing is when I get really high up on the guitar, like Chris has told me this a lot and I always forget to do it, but like you're supposed to do this and get close to it and then go back. But I just I a lot of times don't do that because I just need to practice it more, I guess. But like I need to keep my hand more like straight with it. And
okay, now we're on the same page because yeah, definitely. What I noticed is that as you tilt your hand more and more, as you're tilting your hand more and more, what's happening when you're doing those slurs is you're coming from a greater and greater distance, right? So if you're going down in the air, you're trying to come from here, and man, your fingers to fly. I mean, you've got incredible facility and speed. It's really impressive. Yeah. So, but it's almost like when you have that speed, it's hard to kind of make yourself go slowly to be patient enough when you naturally can play so fast to get things just right. So I hear you. It is a struggle. The struggle is real, and some people are working just to get fast, and some people actually have to work to get slower to get it just right. And so I think you hit on exactly what your teacher's saying is exactly right. You need to work on getting that hand a little more parallel. Now, sometimes it's okay. Like there are some amazing musicians whose hands do lean a little bit out, but what you'll see is they won't get so far away that they're flinging in from that distance. So there really is a wide range. Like I know a lot of people with small hands like mine, more compact hands, we really, like I always pretty much am like this. But I know that people with longer fingers like Dr. Mattingly a good example of that is Lorenzo Michele. If you've seen Lorenzo Michele from solo duo play, he's got these very long fingers and he has a tendency to actually have a little bit of this angle. But what you'll notice is he never pulls his fingers up like this far.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So basically you're increasing the distance you have to move, yet you're trying to play in a certain tempo. So you're having to go even faster and change the speed with which you're moving your fingers. And that's going to affect your accuracy and it's definitely going to affect your tempo. So all of that stuff I just said is just basically telling you something you already know. But what happens is we fall into habits. So I think what's happened is not only is it a physical habit, you've gotten used to expressively doing things that are kind of tied into your technique. And it's almost like we have to pretend we're not even playing the guitar sometimes. We have to hear this beautiful, ideal thing in our mind. Imagine that it's played on any on other instruments or sung. And then imagine how would we shape that with time. And I love that you like to shape with time. I love that you're pushing and pulling using rubato, right? To do all these gorgeous things. But I think the technique is getting superimposed on that and you're putting these pauses and you're getting slower when maybe you would rather actually get faster if you just didn't even think of the technique, right? So let's actually do a little bit of that. Let's play a little bit of that. If Dr. Mattingly agrees, was that something cool to do, or did you want to take lead on doing?
You go ahead. No, absolutely. I totally agree. And fundamentally, exactly what you're saying with the left hand. We were just talking about that in the technique lecture, the position of the left hand, and that's something to add to that though I play with that technique that you're talking about and leaning left a little bit, Cole, you need to follow Lynn's lead, and I'm sure what Maestro Rosalind has told you, lean left, and what we have to do with habits, you have a habit already, so now you have to learn a new habit. So it's going to take you some time to adjust and change that behavior. So let's just listen to what Lynn has to say and make sure that we take careful note to do it.
Awesome. Well, one of the things when we are working on a habit is we have to hold ourselves accountable. And when you love music, the tendency is to just go off into music land. It's like you're just riding, you're like, yeah, I'm in the moment. And it's hard to take that step back and go, what is my hand doing? How am I moving? It can sound totally like, it can feel like an artificial thing, but it's what allows us to really reach that next level. So one of the things that I do is I do kind of like red light, green light work, where basically I will take little sections and I choose a spot where I'm going to stop and I just freeze and then I check. So I have this like checklist in my mind, like, and I have to go through it. If I don't go through it, I'm just going to keep jumping into the moment. So it sounds like you need to create a checklist right now. And what we'll do first is we'll take out we have to simplify. We'll take out any pushing and pulling, but we're going to take a difficult section. So we're going to take, for example, we'll take from measure 11. Yeah, we're jumping right into one of the hardest spots. Oh yeah, why not? So we're going to start at measure 11. And what you're going to do is you're just going to play that one group of 6. But you're going to do it with no worries. You're going to play it perfectly metronomically. I only want to hear 6 notes. I want to hear it slowly enough. I'm not going to tell you how fast to play it. Sometimes I tell students, I'm not going to tell you. I want you to play it slowly enough where you can land every finger exactly perfectly and not let your hand tilt or do anything that you know is off. And let's see. So let's come up with our checklist then. Checklist is our hand is going to be basically more or less, this part of the hand is parallel to the fretboard. So if you catch yourself doing like this, we don't want that. We want to do this. We want the fingertips to be placed right next to the frets. And then when you are finished with a note, it's not allowed to lift up more than, let's say, I don't know, like half an inch. Okay. So all you have to do, that's all. That's your checklist. I don't care how slowly you play this. And well, I want it slow. But I want to see if you can do that with 6 notes. That's your only task right now. And then we're going to have that red light. So you do green light, double check your position, and go ahead. I don't even care about the right hand. I mean, I do a lot of times, but right now I don't. We can't focus on everything at once. Right now, I only care about those 3 things I just said. So what are they again? Can you say them back to me?
So left hand, like keep it somewhat straight, right? And then, oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I know I'm putting you on the spot, but that's why I want to do this. So we want to keep this part of your hand basically parallel to the fretboard.
Yeah.
So right here where your palm is, right? I like to think of it that way instead of straight, because with straight, we think about the wrist a lot, right? Right now, I want to just put our attention on this being mostly aligned. Like it can be a little bit left, that's fine, but mostly aligned. Then the second thing was to place your fingertips exactly perfectly right next to the fret. And then the third thing had to do with the lift of your fingers. When you lift a finger, how much do I want you to lift the finger?
As little as possible.
Yeah, pretty much like about half an inch, because you need to get out of the way. But what I don't want to see is that kicking out. So those are the 3 things. Anything else, I don't really care about that much. We can't focus on 1,000 things at once. These are the priorities right now. So go ahead and do that. 6 notes. That's all I'm asking. 6 notes. Good. Now you looked at your music because, hey, you've never had to just like probably play those 6 notes all on their own. So when you looked at your music, you couldn't look at your hand, could you?
Actually, I didn't look at my music that time. I've got it flipped over that way. I didn't look at it.
Oh, did you look at your hand though?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you get all 3 of your checklist things for every single note?
Here, I'll try it again.
Go slowly enough so you can actually assess yourself.
I think I did it that time.
Okay, so guess what? I'm going to tell you right now, I'm being tough on you, man, because you're so good. I'm going to be tough on you. It's a sign that I care and I know what you can do. What I saw, if I were going to assign points, I do this with a lot of my students. It's just a way to kind of hold ourselves accountable. This is better than when I use a dog clicker, because I actually use a dog clicker for students too. If they get it right, if they do everything right, I click it. I would have clicked on the first few notes and I would have stopped clicking on the rest of your notes. I would have clicked on only 3. And that's because your first 3 were really beautiful. Your hand looked great. That was all set. But then you started lifting those fingers up a gazillion miles away. Man, they were like, wing! And again, you get away with it. That's a problem when you can get away with it. So I want to see now you do that again. But this time, I'm only going to focus, actually. I don't even care about anything else right now. Again, we're learning how to focus here on one thing. I want to see those fingers just barely pop away when you're done at the end of that passage. So try that again. If you need to go more slowly, that helps to hold yourself accountable, but try it again. Let's see if we can, everyone at home too, we're watching, we got our little clickers. We're going to see if you can get every one of those right. Give it a try.
I'm lifting. Okay, here, I'll try again.
Good.
Oh, dude, my pinky flies up every time though. I don't know what to do.
Now, okay, you just learned something really important though. And what happens is it's just so easy for us to let this go when our product is what we want. When we hear it and it sounds like kind of what we want, we're just like, yeah, this rocks. This is awesome. Everyone does that. And it's the people who really bring it to the next level. The people who really bring it to the next level, they're able to do this kind of work. And I can tell it's in you to do this, but like anything, you gotta cultivate that. You gotta practice that. And we can't do it for hours and hours a day. I can't. I don't have that ability to focus. So I do it in little bits and I choose the things to focus on. I really bring my attention to those things and I hold myself accountable. Now, again, I don't expect you to do this for an hour, but I know that this is one of the things that's holding you back from really getting to that next level. And it is worth it. And It's like any, like a sport. You build up your endurance for focus too. And when you feel like totally tapped out, like, hey, I'm not paying attention anymore, you go to something different. You might work on getting a crescendo just perfectly instead of a technical thing. You might work on getting some articulation just right, or things like that. But I feel like in watching you play, you've got so many great ideas that I know are going to keep evolving with time. But that was one of the main things, is that we have these sticky spots, these spots, I call them sticky spots, spots where you're just pausing, that I think feels a little random sometimes, but it's not random when I watch your hand. A lot of that is because of a physical thing. And then someone who doesn't know the music, like say, someone who just likes music, they're going to be like, whoa, it's so musical. And it does, like stopping and pausing, that can sound musical, but to people who really know, we know you're pausing because it's just hard there. So you want to never be in that category. You want to get to that category where you're serving the beauty of the music and what naturally the music, the phrasing is supposed to be. So generally speaking, man, like I said, you're rocking. But I feel like a lot of times there are these little things that are a little glitchy. So I'm going to move on to something different now. I think this was a big lesson. And I want to talk a little bit about ornaments and like the role of the little ornaments, right? So for example, right at the beginning of the main section, the A section of the piece, we've got that beautiful little melody. So just for the sake of everyone at home, let's go ahead and start from that. So right from measure 15. And I just want you to play 15, 16, 17, and 18. Okay, just through, so you see where that is, and you can stop. You can stop on the downbeat if you want of 19. Okay, can you play that for us? And I just want you to just do your thing. Don't even worry about anything else. Just kind of relax. Don't obsess about your left hand. Don't worry. I just want you to make music for a second, and we'll talk a little bit about it. Yeah.
Well,
That's all right. Don't sweat it. Don't sweat it. You did, that was enough for what I needed to do. That was well done. And I love, it's one of the characteristic things of this piece is that that wonderful Spanishy for capriccio árabe, right? Árabe. Yes. And so basically that is such a cool thing. And what happens is guitarists are like, yeah, we're doing a trill, or we're doing this ornament. Listen to this. We do the same thing with harmonics. We're like, listen to these harmonics, everyone. How cool is this? I don't care if you've been playing for a while, a long time. It's fun to pop out harmonics or to pop out ornaments. The problem is they're part of the texture too. And I think a lot of times we put them out way too much, or we let them have this gravitational pull that actually messes with the tempo. And so the way you just played that was actually, it was pretty, it was closer in time than the first time you played it. But what I noticed is sometimes you go da-yam, ba-da-dee-dan, da, da-yam, da-da-dee. There's this almost like, and I think you're making a little more of that ornament than it needs to be sometimes. Generally speaking, that's a common thing. And the other thing is that not all ornaments need to be exactly perfectly in time or the same either. So because this ornament keeps coming back over and over again, it could be cool to, like, I always say, float it a little, maybe one of those times, to take a little da-ya-bo-bo-be-ba, if you were saying it, la-dee-da-dee, instead of da-yan, da-dun-dee-da. So I want you to mess with it now. I want you to just try some different things. Actually, first thing I want you to do, the best thing to do is actually just play the first one. Don't do the ornament. It's going to be hard. But I want you to play the first measure, a measure 15. So I want you to go, da, da. So you're going to just go G. That's all I want you to do, okay? So you can play the other notes too, but no B flat to C there, okay? Give that a try, just that one measure with no ornament.
Wait, now it's confusing me on the other notes.
Totally, I expect that. Try it another few times, no worries. You got as many tries as you want. Give it another try. Okay, good, Cole, good. Now I want you to do that instead of you're having other places where you're pausing and changing the tempo, but I want to see if you can just imagine the whole measure as one expanding breath. Dum dee da da dee da da dee da. You see what I mean? No little pauses, no little adjustments. Just think of everything as just kind of growing, getting a little bit more spacious as you play it. Try that one time for that measure.
And with none of the slurs.
No ornament. I know, with no ornament. It's gonna, I know it's tough. You can do it. I know you can do it. Okay, so I'm gonna call you on this, Cole. You're doing a slight pause on 2 notes in that measure. You're going da, don, don, deen, da. You're doing a don, da, don, dee. You're still putting a weight on where the ornament was. So try it again. I'm calling you on it. Really try to keep it just as this, I mean, whatever helps you to just imagine I'm pushing. If this were in person, I just push on your shoulder. I'd be like, da. No pausing, the whole thing like you're moving. So you can even start playing it and just move to the side. Don't pause. Feel everything just continuously going. Try that again. You got this. I know you can do it.
Wait, I'm kind of confused a little bit. So should I be like playing it if I was playing it with a metronome, or what should I be doing?
I don't want you to pause. So honestly, I would almost spread things out a little bit, almost get a little bit slower, just slightly, if you wanted to. But yeah, I guess you could say, just play it like you're playing with a metronome. That'd be the easiest way to do this.
Okay.
Play it like it's a metronome, but I don't want you to go bop, 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 bop. I want you to still connect with the music. That's why I don't say it that way. Because a lot of times when I say play it like a metronome, everyone just goes blah, blah, blah. They turn default on to just like not making music. So if you can think of a metronome and still make music, still do your crescendo, still do what you want to do, but just don't mess with time the way you're messing with time.
Okay.
Give that a try.
No, see, I did it again.
You did. You got to have it. Okay, but you hear it now. You notice it this time. That's huge. Okay, do that again. You got it now.
No.
Now you wanted that one. That's all right. I still want you to do this. We're not going to give up on this because I think this is huge. Good. Now let's keep the same tempo. Ba, ba. And again, if we were in person, it'd be a little easier here because I'd play it along with you. I even have to just play the melody. You hear that? So I'm going to do that one more time. Wherever I want it. Feel it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I forgot the A, but.
Oh, but that was the best you've done it. That was, you were feeling it that time. So basically the whole point of this, I know it's like a lot of things actually to this, but the takeaway to this is that it's really easy for us as we learn a piece to create these habits that I think of as gravitational fields with timing, where we just get these spots that get stuck, where we get a little sucked in. And ornaments are one of those like powerful gravitational fields where we go da-da, da, dun, ding, da. Now, if you want to save something dramatic like that for one time, that's okay. But if you do it every time, and you maybe you've heard this before, you start to get this kind of seasickness kind of feel. You know what I'm talking about? It's just like, and so this piece, the most common mistake that I've heard people playing this piece, even some professionals, I have to say, for my opinion, is that they start to use the same type of push and pull in the same places. It becomes a habit, and you end up kind of just, it gets too predictable. And as awesome as this piece is, it's 10 times more awesome when you can show more variety in the way that you deal with time. So the most common thing then that I want you to pay attention to is when there's an ornament, make sure you're not totally slowing down significantly or upsetting the tempo for that ornament, number one. That's a huge one. Number two, on a high note, sure, high notes are dramatic, but if we do a big pause on every single high note, then it takes away the power of the pause. It's like, you use a joke too many times, it's not funny anymore. It's like you have to find just the right balance. And I think that you're in the right category. Don't get me wrong. You're totally I love that you're doing so much with time. I would so rather work with a student that does a lot in this kind of situation than than a student who doesn't do anything. So that is, still, it's still good. It's just these things will bring another level of sophistication for sure. Now, another thing that this is speaking to is this idea of, and you hear a lot of teachers talk about this. I remember teachers talking about this, and I didn't always get it at first. And now I get it in a much bigger way. And that is this idea of the larger phrase. Have you ever heard that said, like, play a larger phrase? Have you ever heard that expression?
Yeah, there's like some people that would think of the phrase as like the time where it repeats like multiple times. I don't know. Like I have trouble doing that, but
yeah. And what happens is we get all. I'm a person. I get interested in all the details of even one measure or even a part of a measure. I've always been fascinated by that. But if we do too much expressively in one little short spot, one small spot, sometimes that just makes it's like a lot of short stories, and instead of one beautiful novel. And so in this piece, there is a story that's a bigger story. So you have to find the averaging of doing enough within one measure or two measures or three measures, but then finding a way to craft over a longer span as well. So what I'm talking about of these gravitational pulls and things like that, what that ends up doing is you're creating these little places that are just sections. That's a little too much sections, too much of just one measure, one high note, one high note. And so this idea of instead spinning things out over a longer span, that will create such a cooler effect, and it will tell more of a story over the course of the piece. And so, so ways to do that is, one thing is kind of what I just described, and that is to hold yourself accountable to actually not doing anything, or to try to do a crescendo without changing time, or to try to do a decrescendo without changing time, or try to change time, get a little faster and doing a accelerando without changing dynamics. Man, that stuff is tough to do, but it's almost like you have all these little expressive techniques that you can try, and then decide, really commit to, am I doing a crescendo over 2 bars, over 4 bars, over 6 bars? I'm gonna have, I can see that Steve's got his guitar. I think he wants to jump in and give some advice about some of this. So Steve.
Yeah, Lynn, no, this is all really great stuff. I didn't want to distract from that. I put my video back on without realizing, but there was a person in the panel asking a great question. Eduardo wanted to know about the chromatic scale. And he's asking about how do you deal with that, with tension, making it slow, or seeking speed with fluency. And I had first just a suggestion simply about the fingering of that chromatic scale. This would be the one at measure 44. And I'm going to offer one fingering idea here. And I'll see if I can share my screen. This might be a little bit of a curveball to those who are handling the behind the scenes stuff, but we'll see if the whole thing doesn't just kind of break down in this moment. But I think now you can kind of, at least those on this call, may be able to see my screen, or at least this little excerpt here. And I'll just mention, this is a different edition that I'm using. I just simply use the first printed edition. I know that there are other nice editions out there, like this one seems to be. But so here's the fingering I use, and I think there's a great piece of this question we should not overlook. It's the question about tension and fluency. And I think one thing question could be is harmonic tension. The harmony right here at this moment is a 5 chord. We have that A major, and we may linger on that high A for a bit before we begin the chromatic scale, and then kind of do a crescendo and a accelerando along with it. You often hear that, but I think what Dr. McGrath is talking about with doing an accelerando, or rather doing a crescendo without the accelerando, or holding yourself accountable for other interpretive elements, is a very good skill to develop. Let's just look at, though, the nuts and bolts of technically what's going on in this chromatic scale. I do this. I start with the A string open, and then I plan out my string crossing so that I can do a shift on an open string. And I'll talk about the right hand fingering in just a second, because there's something in there you might wonder about. But I start here, I do that, I'm all in first position, and I get to the B flat here. Then I play B natural open. There's that string crossing, and I land on a C here in fifth position. And then I do a 1-to-1 shift, and then I'm on the second string, and then a 1-to-1 shift, and I land, boom, right there on the A. There are a couple of things that I like about this is that I have really only one shift of considerable note, and that's the one to get from first position to fifth position. And there I am. And then the rest of the shifts, these two are mapping one another equally. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. And they sort of connect to the musical gesture as well. That you can see that there's kind of a naturally written out accelerando in here with the 16th notes ending in a quintuplet at the end. So I have a batch of four notes plus one, I land on the E, and then I land on the A. So musically speaking, I can kind of hit some salient features with that fingering. And then for the right hand fingering, I just simply put one idea here that's just all I am alternation. And I start with M, and here's why. I put little asterisks above the right hand fingering to show where string crossings are. So there's a concept of like, I often say positive or negative string crossing. You know, some people call it inverse string crossing. When you have a string crossing that you have, like right here, I go open 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I go to the fourth string with I. I've just crossed from a lower string to a higher string, M to I. That's less favorable to going the other way, I to M. But I make that sacrifice there at the beginning of the scale, because then the rest of my string crossings work out in a pretty favorable way. I go from the D sharp, M, I, string crossing M. That's a good one. And then I, M, I, string crossing to M, another string crossing to I. Those are all good. Then I am on the third string, I, M, I on the E, and then M to the F. Good string crossing. And then the rest finishes on the second string, right? So that's a string crossing that works nicely. And when I have to plan my string crossings, I choose to put those inverse string crossings, like that one that goes M to I, in the beginning of the scale. I usually like to clear those hurdles before, so that I don't get to the end of the scale and I have a funny string crossing like here, and something like that at the very end, and then everyone is left with a nasty impression of how that scale ended. At least it sets me up for success there. So there, what I would do, Eduardo, is I would practice that, and here's an essential element. Practice that like this. E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and so on. Right? I was counting in 2. I don't know why, but anyway, do right hand alone, strings open, and then build in that sequencing. After that, some other tips on scale playing to be very fluent with them. I'll share one that I know the great Zoran Dukic would suggest, and that is dotted rhythms. So I would practice like and so on, and then reverse that and do so M-I, short, long, or M-I-M, long, short, long. And then I would practice them. Add a note practice is another good one to do. So I would do and so on, and maybe do that in groups of 4 or 5, 6, whatever that may be. And left hand alone, of course, is really good. The tension aspect there, where I believe tension is often at its source gripping and grabbing for uncertainty. It is trained into us from the time that we grabbed onto that tree branch at the uncertainty of whether the tiger below us would eat us or not. Grip tighter and we will survive. So I think we tend to, when we don't really know our fingering, or we think we don't know it, we tend to clinch. And this is one of those moments. I never had the honor of studying with him for a long period of time, but I had a series of lessons with Scott Tennant once, and I had this revelatory moment that he said something to me where he said, "Why aren't you trusting your work?" I'm paraphrasing, but essentially he said, "You've clearly practiced a great deal and you know this, but you're not trusting it. You're holding back. So do the work, do it right, do it well, and then trust in it and let it go. Let it, I mean, essentially just like let her rip is the way I would phrase it. But you have to do that groundwork first." So I thought that I would just share that. That was the only thing I was really going to do there, Lynn. But, I guess if there's any kind of wrap up stuff we can do, we can kind of um, work with that and move on to Sophia.
Yeah, I would just agree. I do exactly what Dr. Mattingly just described. We're getting these rhythms. I work on the mixed rhythms. I call them just mixed rhythms. What I don't do that I'm going to do from now on, thank you for this. You can always learn. I love the idea of starring where the string crossings are. I've never done that. I practice them. I do right hand alone. I practice my string crossings. I agree with the philosophy, put in the difficult string crossing, or I wouldn't use negative and positive. I don't know.
Yeah.
I would use some other system myself, but I like that idea of putting that first so that you're going into more confident, you're feeling more confident as you go through it. But absolutely. And then, knowing Scott quite well and having worked with him, I would say that one of the things he talks about practice being is like practice is building confidence. I use that philosophy all the time. My practice is supposed to convince me, like not by pretend, like, oh yeah, you might be ready. No, you are ready. And you can do it 10 out of 10 times well, that you've looked at and you've had your checklist, Cole. You checked your checklist and you're holding yourself accountable for things that are important to improve upon, that you can do it. Not just that you could get the results often, but that it feels right. It's not just about what it sounds like. It's about what it feels like. Sometimes what it looks like can kind of give us even a better idea of what it feels like if we're kind of like too much in the moment. Those are all things that really help. The one thing I'd add about the chromatic scale, I like to go through them, any kind of shapes that are scale shapes that are going quite fast. I like to actually find the expansion contraction. For those of you with smaller hands, I think this is more important. So I practice finding the whole shapes on the strings. So I would practice this and I push down the strings and just practice the tapping. And then I listen for it too, to make sure that I'm not moving from too far away and getting the timing off. So a lot of times it's for synchronicity between the hands. You can work on left, work on right. Getting the timing together can be tough. So yeah, for a electric player, Cole, you're going to be set with this. Like this kind of fast little motion, you're probably really good at doing lightly, right? So, yeah. But generally speaking, with scales, you can just kind of figure out how open or closed your hand needs to be and program that in so you're landing in the shape you need as you go from string crossing to string crossing. So it's kind of a complicated technique a little bit, but I find it to be very useful. So say I'm doing a G major scale. If I'm doing it fast, I'm feeling this, I can go through and just get to feel the framing of the shape across one string. That can be useful to reduce tension. And now if we're doing slowly, I don't like to do that. Why? With a smaller hand, I'm not going to keep my hand out like this. That's going to take energy. I'm going to do more micro shifting. So it just depends. It really depends. That's why slow practice to me isn't the same as fast practice. There are things that you do differently with slow technique and fast technique. Big concept, probably not for today. But yeah, Cole, really, you're doing so well. The excitement and the passion that you have for this music is wonderful. And I feel like really it's kind of just harnessing your ideas in a way that's just a little bit more careful, in a way that presents the piece as one picture. And then refining your technique so that the technique itself isn't holding you to certain musical things that don't really necessarily suit the interpretation. But really, everything's going so well. Such a pleasure to hear you play, and love your energy, and obviously you're dedicated, and man, I hope I get the chance to hear you playing again in the future.
Thanks.
Great, Cole. Bravo.
Cool.
All right. Next up is Sophia. There's Sophia.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Sophia.
Hi. I'm so sorry. Oh my God. Sorry, my dogs are barking. So We are having work done at our house, and somebody cut all of the line. Like they cut all of the lines, and so I'm using my phone. So if the internet connection's bad, you can stop me because I don't want to like. I mean, it doesn't sound okay right
It
now.
looks good. It looks fine now.
Okay. I mean, I can try playing, but
I think we're good.
okay.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. And Mike might, hey, one of my cats might come in and meow too. So we'll just have a.
Well, so Sophia, make sure you're unmuted. And the big question of the day here is who lets the dogs out?
Yeah, I should probably put them in their kennels. They're being horrible.
I'm kidding. That was for Lynn. That was just for Lynn.
Let the dogs out.
It's really good. Yeah.
So tell us what you're gonna play.
Julia Florida by Barrios.
Great. And as Lynn suggested last time, let's check your tuning.
Okay. Okay. I think I'm good. All right. Okay.
Yay! Nice job, Sophia. Mhm. Well, then I'll let you take this one too, because if you see me over here beaming with pride, it's because Sophia is my student. I can't beam.
Oh, wonderful. Super cool. Well, I'm happy for both of you then. So happy, Sophia, that you get to have such an awesome teacher. And, and happy that Dr. Mattingly has such an awesome student. Thank
you.
Awesome. How old are you, Sophia?
15.
15, rockin'. Wow, you're doing so well. You're working so hard. That's so obvious. Wow, it's so exciting. I really like teaching high school students because I can see you're like, I love this. And I can see that you really enjoy playing the guitar. And I have to say, I'm super impressed that your dogs just like kind of knew, they sensed like this is important. And they stopped barking completely.
So proud of them.
Good dogs. Give them an extra treat from me.
I know.
Awesome. So many good things are happening in your playing. You're obviously doing such good work. I noticed also that there are a lot of wonderful notes in the music that I've got in front of me, like in different colors. And my question is that from Dr. Mattingly, or is that something you wrote in?
Yeah, that's from Dr. Mattingly.
Yes. And I think, man, I was looking at these notes and thinking, this is really good advice. And I have to say, I don't know if you're doing everything that's written there, but hey, it's a performance, and sometimes some of these things might be newer and they're hard to kind of bake into the performance, right? Like you can really need to do something, but it doesn't mean it's going to just happen like that. It's just like it takes some time. So my feeling is that I'm guessing you've read all of these and you know what you need to work on, and there are some definitely the note stuff. I always do like the house cleaning, I call it. It's like the basic stuff. So there are some note issues, right, that Dr. Mattingly has written down at measure 43, that section, right, Dr. Mattingly?
Right. Yeah, exactly. There was just some question about what notes were sounding there. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I won't go into that because I know you have a teacher that's going to be able to talk about that and make sure that you're getting all the right notes and that everything is correct. And so mainly it's more like, okay, well, I want to give you a different perspective, a little different maybe on my first impression, not knowing you're playing at all until today and hearing you play. And I feel like I said, you're doing such great work. You obviously really like this piece. And I think I think the way it could help you most is for us to maybe talk about how, a lot of times music really it's almost like a play, right? And I don't know if you're into theater or not, or if you're into plays or musicals or anything like that. A little bit? No, not at all.
Maybe a little, not
maybe a little. Okay, but you get the concept. I'm going to stick with it though. I'm not going to change. I'm going to stick with that concept. Right. And so, how about this? How about you're in charge of the lighting and the staging of a play?
Okay.
Right? And so basically, like, you got all the actors, you know the story, and because I feel like you pretty much know what's going on in the story because you've been playing this piece for how long?
Like 5 months.
Yeah, 5 months is a good amount of time to be learning a piece. It's a hard piece though, and you're doing a great job in only 5 months. But yeah, you kind of know how this piece goes. Come on, you just played it for us wonderfully. You know how those parts fit. But sometimes you can watch a play over and over again, or watch a movie, let's say, over and over again, and you like can notice things about it maybe the 4th or 5th time that you never noticed before, right?
Yeah.
And so I feel like right now you have this idea of this piece, but I think there's a lot more that's going on than meets the eye. And I think I want you to be like the person in charge of putting the spotlight on the coolest parts. I want you to show us who the most important actors are in this. I want you to be able to bring that out, like imagine that spotlight. And then maybe the other person is kind of behind them and they come into the spotlight. So when I say that, what do you think I'm really talking about when it comes to music, when I make that comparison?
To bring out the parts that are like maybe harder, more beautiful than the other parts of the song more than what I did.
Yeah, okay, yeah, you're on the right track. We're talking about some things are just more important than other things. It's all important. It's all every single note is important. Every rest is important. It is. They're all important. They've been put in for a reason, but they're not equally important. Some things need to be brought up a little bit louder, or some things more attention needs to be brought to those things, because honestly they're just special, or they're really a part of how the piece was composed. So when I look at the beginning of this piece, I know that there is a part, there starts to become these parts that are just more important. And so right now, what I feel like is you're making everything really important. You're like, this note's important, that note's important, and this bass line's important. They are, but they're not equally important. So I'm really talking about mainly bringing out the melody. That's what I'm really talking about.
That's what I was gonna say that, but I didn't.
Oh, you were this close then.
Yeah.
And finding, now it's not always easy to even discover where the melody is. And then sometimes composers, they're purposefully ambiguous. They don't tell us exactly where the melody is at first, some composers. But then once we find it, it's like, oh, that. And I look at as our role as performers, it's like we're tour guides. It's like you're an expert on this, and you're saying, hey everyone, let me walk you down the street. And you're not saying, look at this street sign, isn't that cool? Look at this fire hydrant, I love this fire hydrant. My dog peed on this fire hydrant yesterday, in fact. You're gonna be like, look at this historical building. There was a huge fire here 30 years ago, and this is what happened, right? So basically, that's our role as performers. The composer kind of puts as much as they can out there, and then we have to go, oh gosh, now we have a responsibility to like be good tour guides. And so that's my biggest challenge to you right now, is let's work on you really bringing out the most, like that melody a lot more, and bringing down the other parts that are still important. They're still present. You get great tone, great projection. Oh my gosh, it's sounding wonderful. But I just want to hear those highlighted a little bit more. Now, one other thing that I usually suggest students do, as crazy as this can be, is I have them write words to the melody. I have them actually write words, and they can be goofy words, but basically, I'm not going to make you do that now necessarily. I might give you something funny to say, but basically, let's see, we got it. So in the beginning, we're just kind of setting up the scene, right? You're like, okay, everyone gather around. I'm going to show you something. Okay, everyone, come over here. Come on and come over now. I'm going to show something to you. You're going to love it. Okay, that was another part. I got really excited there. You see what I mean though?
That's really good.
What I want you to do. It seems, I'm not talking about right words like from your heart. Oh my gosh, you don't have to worry about that. This is simply an exercise. Not that couldn't help. I mean, I have had words go to some of the melodies of some pieces that I play. If it's really meaningful, if there's a moment I want to really savor, I might have certain words that go with it that I hear in my head. Honestly, I do that sometimes. Yeah. So it's not just an exercise, but really for today, we'll just make it into an exercise.
Okay.
So let's give that a try. We'll play from the beginning, and I want to see if you can really let the audience, even through Zoom, hear the really vast difference between the melody and the accompaniment. And like anything, when we're trying something for the first time, as Cole was feeling, like you just go back to habit, right? It's so easy to go in default habit, boom, your hands just do what you've been done 1,000 times. So you have to really spend a lot of extra energy. And with the extra energy, it's like extra processing power. You need to slow things down just a little bit, or you won't be able to do it. You'll just go back. So let's slow things down. I know that makes it harder sometimes too, but slow it down. I want you to also exaggerate. I want the accompaniment to be even quieter than you would ever probably play it. I want to be almost inaudible. And I want that melody. I don't even care about the like dynamic shaping. I just want it to be forte.
Okay.
Super huge ask I'm asking. This is just an experiment. And I might randomly sing words on those notes, just preparing you for that. Okay.
That's perfectly fine.
All right. Give it a try.
All right. So just the beginning to like 2 or 3
Yeah,
measures.
let's go all the way to the downbeat of measure 7.
Okay.
Oh, wait, freeze already? Whoa, that's loud.
So too loud?
Yep.
So I need to be, so just for, okay. Sorry.
No, nothing to be sorry about. And your microphone might be just extra sensitive too. So, and I know there's compression and things that happen, but don't worry, just try it one more time. Just think very gentle, very quiet, and a little slower. And I won't stop you again.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. I don't know where measure 7 is. I don't
No,
have
sorry, you're not looking. That's all right. We could stop right there. I should have.
Okay.
No worries. So basically, I guess what I need to ask you then is what were you bringing out? So it sounded to me. I know the beginning is ambiguous. It's just kind of setting the scene, like I said. So, and then when we get to this, I can't. I know I'm not in proper position. It's not the way to be playing here. I lost my footstool. And so basically, we've got to get. This is all setting the scene, right? This part can be just all gentle. But here we realize that A, high A it's like, hey everyone, right? Here. I want to hear that A louder. That needs to be here. And then I need to go like this. Come over here. Okay, that's what I want to hear. Try that now. Don't mind my voice.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, it's okay, but you're feeling it. I can tell you're like, come over. You had a little New York in there. That was awesome. All right. Now, and you even added some vibrato and beautiful tone to it. You were feeling that melody, and you added things that I just was talking about volume, but you even added other things. Now, what I noticed, and this is a very typical thing, I don't know if you noticed, this guy is super bossy, right?
Yeah.
The thumb is one of the most bossy digits out there. It's like, yeah, can be kind of be a bully, honestly. It can take over your whole hand position. It can pull your hand up way too high.
Yeah.
And you got to teach it to just like help out the other guys that kind of like have it a little tougher. And so what I noticed is that when you're playing that bass line, and I think you've got much hard, I don't know, it's just like, I'm hearing this boom, boom, boom. It's like, whoa, you're like, hey, everyone, here.
Yeah.
But instead of, hey, everyone, here, I want, hey, everyone, here.
Okay, so reverse it, kind of.
Yeah, let's try that. Yeah, you feel it? You just put the spotlight on that melody. Like I can feel it. It opened. I look at this beginning. You just pushed the curtain open for the play. You're like, you pushed it open gently and you're like, hello, everyone. I'm going to tell you a story now. That's what you just said with those 2 measures. And then everything actually gets, believe it or not, easier after that. I think it gets easier in where the melody is. That part was a little bit like, again, a little ambiguous, but right where you left off, right where you go, dun, dun, dee, da, da. And then I want you to think about how, so now you're walking onto the stage, right? Here, come over here. Then it is here. Oh, look at this over here. You know, it just gets more dramatic. It's so cool. That has to be the leader of the story here. And what's happening is a lot of times the bass is like, it's kind of like someone who's like right behind you going like, yeah, I'm over here. Yeah, let's go get.
Yeah.
Distracting from the beauty of the person who's coming in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You need to support, but not distract. They need to be not comic relief underneath. It needs to be just like the water, and then the melodies floating above this beautiful, you know, like an elegant sailboat or something above, and underneath this water's happening. Now, sure, sometimes the water becomes more important. Sometimes the other actors come out into their almost like a duet, like there could be a counter melody or some interesting thing that brings our attention to something else, for sure. But if we don't have that set, who the different characters are in music like this, we're missing something. It still sounds beautiful. You know, it's like still awesome and fun to listen to. And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed everything you did in this piece. I just enjoyed listening to you play and share your vision. But I know that if you can do this, it's gonna help people to understand how beautiful this piece is to that next level.
Okay.
Now, Dr. Manning, do you have other things like based off of that, what I'm riffing on right now, or ways that you might approach it? Other ways?
I mean, very much of this is exactly the stuff. I mean, even down to calling the thumb a bully and a boss, that we use exactly the same wording.
Yeah.
And I know Sophia is at this phase, just to contextualize where she is. She's in this phase of development in the piece where we were once in this realm where it was so free and expressive. We were trying to come back to find a pulse. And now she's drifting toward this side of having a very disciplined approach with pulse. And we're working to blend the two. And I love what you're saying about the fire hydrant versus the building that burnt down. I mean, this
I
is
like that analogy too.
yeah. Burnt buildings and urinated upon fire hydrants. It's just what I think of with Julia Florida.
Perfect. It's
Brilliant.
Yep, the visual now just
Yeah.
will always be a part of my
Yeah.
connected with this piece. Oh, well, what you're saying makes so much sense. And I've gone through the same process, like all of us go through this sometimes, where we have that pendulum swings back and forth. And it's almost like we have two personalities, and it's hard to get that to mesh and for that to work. And
Yeah.
And so, but you're doing the work you need to do. I mean, it is there. But if that idea of like, yeah, actually writing words or saying words and playing that melody to really bring that out helps, that would be great. And then I have a feeling that based on what I just heard from your teacher, that you know the fluidity and the pushing and the pull of tempo, you're going to find that balance. So I won't talk about that today because it sounds like you're on that journey right now. But I will say that difference between the melody and the accompaniment, really highlighting that is huge. And I don't know, have you ever played just the melody alone in this piece?
No.
That is my official assignment for you.
Okay.
To try to play just the melody alone. Now, I know this might, like, there are a lot of things people assumed that I knew about guitar when I was starting that I didn't know for years and years. They just assumed I knew. So now I make sure to go over things, even if if I think people might know about them based on the way they play, they might not actually know. And we've got, an audience here. So one of the ways we can often tell whether something is a melody is written right in the score. So what is something, when you look at the score, what is something that often can tell us, not always, it's like there are a lot of different kinds of scores and the way it's written. But what's that?
Oh, I was gonna say, but generally, like,
yeah, generally speaking, especially if a melody is in a, how can I word this? Especially if a melody is in an upper voice and you have multiple voices happening at the same time, meaning multiple parts. How can you tell what the melody is often?
It's most of the times, I mean, I think it's like the highest notes, like the ones that kind of lead it, that aren't like, they're kind of like played more often than the lower notes, I guess.
Yeah, that is often the case. Yeah. And there isn't even another little trick sometimes or something to look for, and that's the stem direction. So you notice, like, you have the stems going up or stems going down, and then the more complex the music gets, like this is starting to get complex. You might have stems going both directions on the same note to just help with how you read the rhythms and things. But generally speaking, you should be able to look through a piece that's been written out, engraved properly. You should be able to go through and even use like a highlighter on an extra page and highlight that melody. And then what's interesting is I've done this with pieces I've even played for years. I've gone back and done it and gone, oh, oops. I've been wrong. I've played some notes like they were an accompaniment when really they were part of the melody. And I discovered that years later. And I'm like, I should have done this the first time the right way. I wasn't thinking. I just was. And also we get used to hearing other people play stuff, and you get this habit or this performance practice where if you've heard, I mean, I'm guessing you've heard other people perform this, right? Yeah. And so, and you get your favorite performances and you listen to that a lot of times, but sometimes even those performers, they're having an interpretation that might not always match up exactly, either rhythmically or melodically with what's on the page.
Yeah.
So I'm challenging you to print out a copy of this, or just make a PDF, use your PDF, and take a highlighting pen or a highlighting tool and go through and really decide where your melody is and commit to that. And then you have to say, like, okay, what other things are happening? Okay, obviously I can tell you're feeling like the pressure and the harmonic tension, the tension of notes going up higher. There are all these beautiful things that happen in this piece. But think about who the secondary characters are. Like, again, if you're in a play, who's going to be the person that's like next on the list? And where do they come into play? Because really there are a lot of times there are 3 people playing, sometimes 2, sometimes 3, that are a part of this. And it can really vary. It can really change. And sometimes those characters have different, there's a different flavor to those characters too. So just knowing and identifying with that can be helpful. Yeah, Sophia's like on the mute. She's like, dog's barking. I'm gonna get on this mute right now. Awesome. So, I mean, I feel like what I'm talking about right there is probably one of the most important things, but I'm happy to work specifically on a technical thing too. If there's anything, I'm actually going to ask your teacher, I'm going to ask Dr. Mattingly if there's something in particular that he would like me to work with Sophia.
Most definitely. Lynn, you're so great at your concepts on slurs and how they sound, and especially that spot at 21, bottom of first page, second line goes to the B minor section. There's the slur as we're doing the fingering. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. This part is I love this part. It's so delicate, and you're doing a slur on a bass note, man. And that can be kind of tricky, right? I mean, slurs just generally can be tricky, but basically, one of the things that I really work with students with for slurs is to not get that super snappy, like in the beginning, all you want to do is get sound, right? You're just like, I'm going to pull on that string, I'm going to hold it in place, and I'm going to snap the heck out of it and get a nice sound. But what is your dynamic level, Sophia, there? I think you're on mute too, if you would unmute. What is the dynamic level that you want for measure 21, where you start with this?
Probably like mezzo forte or forte, or
As
probably
in
mezzo forte.
As in like piano or mezzo piano?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that sounds good. All right, cool. Because I was going to say that's, this part is kind of a more quiet spot.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it even harder is my point. Now, if you did want forte, honestly, you'd have it easier for sure. You'd be able to do this, right?
Yeah.
So basically, one of the challenges of this particular slur, we'll talk about slurs in general, but this particular slur is you've got a big opening of the hand. You've got to set up the framework of what you're slurring to, right? So let's go ahead and put your hand in that position. Now, and your hand, it still looks bigger than mine for sure, but not that much bigger, but yeah, bigger than mine. So one of the things that I notice is you're doing a good job opening up from the pinky. So what you want to do is you want to actually, especially when you're doing slurs with your weaker fingers, don't let the first finger be a bully. So what we're going to do is I want you to first actually place finger 4, the pinky. And imagine you got to play that all day. That's all you have to play. Now your hand is like, oh, that's easy. Now from there, I want you to open up your hand to the F sharp that you're going to have to play. Oh, sweet. Yeah, you feel that? That's not that hard suddenly. And now I want you to open up your first finger to the B. And gosh, if you wanted to, if it called for a B flat, I bet you could even do a B flat in that position. Isn't that amazing? So the idea that's related to slurs, but it's also just related to playing the guitar generally, is that our first finger and our second finger can be bullies. We reach in and we feel like we can't reach things. But if we place and think of the placement of our thumb and our hand for our weaker fingers, we can very easily reach up. The smaller your hand, the more important this is. I live by this. This is how I can do what I can do on a standard size guitar. So now your slur will feel 10 times better just because you're not reaching to get to the slur. So I want you to do that one more time again. Place 4 comfortably, wonderfully. Oh, easy as pie. And then place 3, then open up to your B. Now you will already be better at this slur just because your hand is much better placed. Now, the next thing we need to do is we need to pull. What's happening is the string is getting pushed against our fingertip. That fingertip is getting pushed against our nail and it pops up, right? Now, a lot of people know this, but just in case you don't, if we just lift, I know you know this. If you just lift, you just get a sticky sound. It's like the stickier your finger is, the more sound you get. But that's not a good slur, right? If you just lift. If Cole has his electric guitar and he did that, it would be okay. But not so good on an acoustic guitar. So we need to really grab the string. And Scott Tennant talks a lot about pulling directly into the string, almost like a rest stroke of the left hand, pulling right into this string.
Yeah.
Now, that direction is great, but my opinion is a lot of people overdo that and they just use all this force and it just tightens up their hand. So what I do is I move in that direction, and then as soon as it lifts, I pay attention to the release, and then I just let it pop up. I'm gonna get really close here, really close. See how quickly it just lets go. I think of it as I'm pulling on a bow, and then it just releases, like the arrow releases and pops back, or like a trampoline. Boom, and it pops back. Now, another thing to talk about is if you're super tense when you do this, if you keep your finger really tight and you use your whole hand to do this, sure, you get a sound, but it's a very harsh sound, right? So one of the things I also like to do is I like to keep my finger really loose and it's almost like I'm rolling a little bit on the tip of my finger, rolls the string a little bit. This is very sophisticated thing I'm telling you about, but I believe that even, yes, 15-year-olds can rock this when they know what to do. It feels so weird, but try that a few times and just notice the fingertip rolling the string a little bit and then try to release it. Let's see you do 5 of those.
With should I mute it or should I just let it
Just let it ring. Yeah, just let it ring. Now let's play it and then do the slur though. Let's play. Or
sorry.
What am I doing here? That's it.
Okay.
Good job. What does it feel like?
Different, but it does. I think it sounds better. Yeah.
It sounds really, really beautiful. And now I want you to just to experiment. Let's try it loudly and then let's get it softer and softer. So the initial note, here's the challenge. The initial note I want to be the same volume, D, and then I want the slur to get quieter and quieter. So I want you to do 5 and try your best to start forte and get down to a pianissimo slur.
Okay.
Sophia, you rock. That was amazing. That is really not easy to do, and you just put all of your focus on that task, and you showed such control over that. So that was awesome. So you can see that just like what I mentioned, Nicole, it's like harmonics, ornaments, and things like that. It's easy to think of something as a technique that we have to just do and accomplish. I must make that note sound. But really, it's a special expressive part of playing when we have these techniques. And so you can craft and listen to the tone just as well as you would with your right hand, trying to get just the right tone with your right hand. You can do the same thing with slurs. The one thing I'll add, just because we're talking about slurs generally, and that was a particularly difficult slur, but one of the things that you can also do, and Scott Tennant talks, Scott is like on my mind today because there are a lot of wonderful things that he talks about. And one of the things that he would talk about is a lot of this kind of dropping our weight into the note we're doing a pull off, a descending slur into. So this idea of a lot of times when we play slurs, we put all of our energy down on 2 notes. Like say I'm going to do a slur from a G to an F. I'm going to go like boom. I'm putting down G and F nice as much as I need to for a note, and I'm doing a slur. I don't do that. What I do is I touch my first finger on the note I'm going to slur to, and I transfer just like I'm playing in a scale. My finger is in contact, but if you really look closely, you'll see that the blood flow doesn't change. It doesn't turn yellow until I need it. So watch. See that?
Yeah.
And that adds a little bit of extra work in that you're an extra step, but I found that helps keep my hand really light if I have a lot of slurs. So, and I know Scott Tennant's all about that transfer of energy. It doesn't work every single time. Like the better you get a guitar, the more it's like, well, do this most times, but don't do it this time. Or yeah, wait, but this is one of those exceptions. There are going to be 1,000 exceptions eventually. But when you do this, if you're feeling like you're stressed, but you looked fine with this, but let's say when you're doing this, you could just touch right where you need to be and then fall into it when you do the slur a little bit more.
Okay.
That would be a way to keep your hand more relaxed, especially if you had a smaller hand and that was a big reach. It's just a way to keep your hand light and relaxed, which is what we aim for as guitarists. We're just trying to make it feel easy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can work on shaping those slurs and really relaxing those slurs through that passage and kind of crafting your dynamics for that as well.
Okay.
Great.
Was that okay? Was that what you were looking for?
That's exactly what I was looking for, and we had some similarities in ideas and concepts there too. Like I sometimes talk about the blend of lift and shift, lift and pluck when doing slurs. Like all pluck is bad, all lift is bad, right? So unless we plug into a Marshall stack, we're not going to get any sound with the lifting alone. So I know Sophia has, some electric guitar skills as well. So she's going to also work on her variations and tapping and all that type of stuff. Guitar one day. That's
Awesome.
great, Sophia. That probably about wraps up the official performance part of this class. Bravo to both of our performers. Great job.
Great job, Sophia. Great job. Cool.
There was a question that came through in the Q&A that I wanted to ask you about as well, Lynn. I answered it by text while you were speaking, and one of our attendees has asked or stated and then asked, I have 2 guitar teachers giving me different fingerings. What should you do in that scenario? So what I said was, 1, to establish whether it was 2 private guitar teachers or 1 class guitar teacher and 1 private guitar teacher, which is probably more often the case. But in the instance, I have had some students who, even after some weeks or months, tell me, oh yeah, I'm still studying with this other person. And then we kind of established, well, why would you have 2 private guitar teachers? And that, most likely you, in that case, you would probably want to establish the purpose of having 2 private guitar teachers, whether it's in 2 different styles of guitar or what have you. And if it is 2 classical guitar teachers, then maybe study 1 set of repertoire with this teacher and a different set of repertoire with that teacher. But then maybe it's class guitar education, like Sophia studies with Michael Kagan, and of course she gets great education in the classroom there. But there are inevitably times that he and I have different fingerings for things, in which case I go to Mike and I say, hey, this fingering here, what's your goal? What's your objective with this? Is there a point behind that specifically? Or is that, just an optional thing that students could consider? And then in which case I'll, always defer to the class teacher for things that are part of their assessments and model. But I was just wondering if we could provide the student with any other ideas you might have.
Yeah, and what you said is I've been in all of those situations. I've
Yeah.
taught people who when I've taught at the collegiate level with 2 2 teachers,
Yeah.
and the goal was to actually teach different repertoire to avoid those kind of problems. The bottom line is that it's just interesting that 2 great guitarists can have completely different opinions, and that is the part to just go like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting. And I think a lot of times we think there's just one answer and that one right answer. But I've changed fingerings, 5 years later, 10 years later, 20 years later. I'm like, why did I do that? It worked for me then. It doesn't work for me now.
Right.
So, but a lot of times a private teacher who's working with you on a weekly basis and very intensely with a piece of music, they might have a really good reason and they might not explain that reason yet to you. So yeah, I think it's important to ask why do you like this fingering? Why do you think it works? To also look and see like how same or different are my hands from that teacher. If it really is one of those things where if you don't feel comfortable bringing it up. I had teachers with massive hands giving me advice on fingerings. They just said, this is the way to finger this, and they'd write it in for me. And it just doesn't work for my hand. And I had to learn my way. And so yeah, but everything you said is exactly the case. I think it's a wonderful thing to seek out advice and to learn from many people. But yeah, you definitely don't walk in and say, well, this teacher said this, and I think I need to do it this way. Don't take that attitude. I know folks won't do that, but it's more like, oh, well, what about this? And then I'd say, you come up with a decision. As a student, you have that opportunity to not just do what you're told. You should do what you're told a lot of times, but to actually say, what are the advantages and disadvantages of each of these fingerings? What do I like or what do I not like? Realizing that sometimes you like something just because it's what you're used to doing, not because it's actually better for you.
Right.
Or it doesn't suit the expression of the piece. Someone could have a completely different interpretation of the piece, and that's why they're using that fingering, because they hear it in a different way.
Absolutely. Great. Well, I hope that answers their question. And if there's anything else like that along the way, we're going from class to class. We have another great class coming up at 2 o'clock with Matt Gergich, and you guys should tune in and check that out. Lynn, thank you so much for being part of this.
Totally my pleasure.
Great teaching. And thanks again to Sophia and Cole for such great playing. And thanks to Michael Kagan for working the channels for us back there on the technical side, along with Ross and everything. I assume all is going well out there in virtual land. So thanks, Lynn.
Thank you. Great to see everyone.
Thanks for the help.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hey, Asher, can you hear me? Asher, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, say that again.
Yeah, it sounds great. You're overdriving just a touch if you want to bring your master volume down, but otherwise I think it's awesome.
I think
Just a touch. So,
I actually do have gain control on this mic, so I pulled the gain back slightly.
yeah, try again. That's perfect.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Down at the bottom. Okay, sit down. Put it onto the checkerboard.
Hi, Sonia.
Hello.
We're gonna get started in just a few minutes. And we're really just, waiting on our artist to join us. I think all the performers are here, so we're just waiting on Matt, and he should be here any minute. And we'll get started. Okay.
Hi, Sonia. Hi, Asher. Hi, Landon. Hi, performers. Good to see you here. Looking forward to your class. I'm here just observing and to add anything that I may need to add along the way. Asher and Landon, I know. Sonia, we haven't had the pleasure to meet yet. Where are you joining us from? Where's home?
Cincinnati, Ohio.
Oh, great. What a wonderful town. Who's your teacher?
Jeremy Collins.
Oh, great. Yeah, I know Jeremy well, and one of his former students studies with me here in Louisville now. Liam Hedrick. Have you met Liam before?
Once.
Yeah, once. Great. Wonderful. What will you play today, Sonia?
I'm going to play Fantasy at 10.
Great. Oh, wonderful. Very good. And Asher, what will you play today? You're going to play some Tedesco?
Yeah, Tedesco.
Great. So, yeah, Variations Through the Centuries. And Landon, what are you going to play?
En los Trigales.
En los Tigres by Rodrigo. Good. We're going to have a lot to learn today. Fantastic. Well, we're waiting on Mac to join us. He's in a completely different time zone, so that's probably a little bit of the delay for us here too. All right. Well, you guys go ahead and just keep warming up and working that out, and I will be right back with you, okay?
All right, I think Mac is getting on right now. Mac, can you hear us okay? Oh, we may have lost him.
Hi, Ross. I'm just on the phone here with Mac, who's figuring this out.
He's got
somehow
some technical things happening, huh?
Okay.
Yeah,
No
when
worries.
he
That's how these things go. Sometimes we can certainly wait.
yeah,
A few more minutes.
he logged in and it somehow was looking like he was logged in as you or
Oh, all
something.
right.
But here we
Can
are.
I be Mac then?
I think so. I think so. I think that's it.
I've always
Yeah.
wanted to be Mac, but you know.
Yeah. He's logging out of Zoom and about to log back in as himself or whatever it is. Let's see. I'll answer this real quick.
Sure. We have a Mac.
There you go.
And I think
Oh,
he's here.
Eureka. Here we go. All
There
righty.
you are, man. Welcome.
Beautiful.
Yay.
Can you hear us okay?
Hey guys, we defeated Zoom.
That's right. Way to go.
Yes.
We started off well. We
I love it, man.
Hey everyone, I'm logging in from Los Angeles, and I heard before on as I was logged in as a ghost of today's Zoom masterclass, I heard that someone studied with Jeremy Collins.
Yeah, that'd be Sonia.
Oh, very cool. Jeremy is a dear friend of mine. We studied together at USC way back when, maybe about 10 years ago or so. It's a pleasure to hear you play then. And hi to everyone. Hey Ross, hey Steve. So far, but yet so close.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
So go ahead, Ross.
Yeah, sure. Well, I can just do a quick little intro, and then we can dive right in if you're ready, Mac.
Yeah, I'm fine.
All right, let's do it. So again, welcome everybody. Thanks, Dr. Mattingly, for putting this together. I won't waste too much time with introductions, but I just want to quickly introduce our performers. So today we have Asher Taylor Schroeder, who's going to be playing first, and then Landon Vandergriff. And then we have Sonia, who you were just speaking to, and those are our three performers today. So since we're already kind of on the clock, let's just dive right in. And Asher, are you ready to play?
Yep.
Great, Asher, man. What are you gonna play for us today?
I'm gonna play the first two movements of Tedesco's Variations Through the Centuries. So just the chaconne and the prelude.
Very good. Ross, did you send me the score for that?
I have it on the screen. I'll pull it up right now.
Okay.
Can you see that?
Yes, I can. Why don't you just email me the score? I'll pull it up.
Yeah, I'll do that while he's playing.
Correct. Good. Hey, Asher, beautiful.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Um, well executed Segovianisms, uh, fingering, dragging it well up and down the fretboard. It's very commendable. Um, so thanks for bringing this piece around. I don't know it very much. It's haven't. I mean, I've heard it in passing, maybe once or twice, but it's a privilege to be able to actually look at the score. Um, so uh, I'll, given the time constraint, let me sort of kind of focus on two separate platforms. One is the technique of your right and left hand. So what makes the Segovianisms beautiful is not just the fingering; it's also the flexibility with which one plays. Okay, so the sort of the right hand being relaxed in its use of the fingers approaching the strings, and then the left hand also being rather smooth. Okay, if you do look, and I'm not sort of saying that what Segovia does is the most ultimate best thing in the world, but there's certainly great things to learn from the style in which he played. And I always personally admired the relaxation and the sort of the ease with which he played. So when I look at you play, when I was observing you play, your right hand was it almost seemed like you were trying to exert that flexibility, that colorfulness, but the technique, the approach to strings on both ends was very static. Okay, and I wonder if there's something that we could do about that. For example, well, first of all, could you give me string number 1, please? Let me just tune up. For example, let's take a look at a passage just out of the chaconne. We can do the thirds and the sixths. Can you play that one? So this would be measure 5. Measure 5. Okay, great. So the fingering is great, and I think it may be what is written. I'm not entirely sure, but so do that again. Do a little bit slow, and watch yourself. Watch the left hand, how you move between the sixths, and then let's talk about it briefly. Good, and then let me do it, and let's compare. Okay. What's the difference?
The way that I do it is focused on the arrival, and the way that you do it, there's a little bit more time spent on the transition between each note. So yours is a little smoother. Mine's a little choppier.
Beautifully said. So you are so you're so right. So I'm quasi enjoying the path a little bit more. Of course, kind of knowing where I'm going. But you are, doing the good old let's not fail our jump approach, which of course we all worry, the jumps are important, we have to make them, but there's certain beauty in it not being rushed, it's not that fast of a tempo. So let's try this once again, and just keep that in mind. You know where you're going. If I may say, physically speaking, for me this usually means that sometimes the wrist leads, also back. And for example, in my actual fingertips, if I'm being really precise, sometimes I even sort of like let the fingertips be a little bit more flexible. I'm not necessarily, doing this as opposed to this. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is minimal, you know. So try just this sort of holistic approach of observing the path. Yeah. Yeah, better. So the first jump down could use just a little bit of tuning up still. Not in tuning,
Yeah.
not in tuning in terms of kind of easing. So so it's try that again, please. That one. So this one.
Yeah, I don't play the fingering that's written there. It's
Yeah, exactly. It's such a small little itsy bitsy jumps. You no need to rush. So just relax your hand. Beautiful. What that gives us also is a sense of ease, you know, where we're like, okay, he's got it, you know. And that's a beautiful feeling to have, you know, not to keep the us as listeners sort of like this, you know. And then in terms of the right hand, let's, for example, let's pick apart. It doesn't. I suppose it doesn't matter. Just pick any part, and then we'll
yeah, I can play that spot.
That's fine. All right. So let's focus then. That's beautiful. Let's focus. This would be line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Measure 2. Okay. What I see in your hand, up and right hand, what I see is this. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to demonstrate fully well, but here's what I see. Does that make sense? Yeah. It's almost like you're trying to give meaning to each single note. But what it's doing, it's putting a little bit of a weight on each of them, but not in a good way, you know, and not in a juicy, here's a decent pie kind of a way. It's sort of like making the line be very static, not connected, and especially this part that is kind of has a transitionary feel. It's important that we maintain this sort of point A to point B sort of guiding line, you know. Or somehow where your right hand, I don't know, doesn't do too much singular units, but you're really just focusing on the phrase being as connected as possible. Legato, you could call it legato, I suppose. Good. That's better. So now let's do another exercise, Asher. Let's where does the phrase? I suppose here's where the phrase starts. This is line 5. So do this. Take a breath and then hold that breath. And your goal is to within that breath that you're holding, and obviously you're gonna be left without breath in a little bit. Try to push through all that is happening. Your goal is to keep going. Not like this, you know. So let's see if this affects your overall being in terms of pushing things through. Try. sure. Have you taken your breath? I couldn't tell.
Yeah, I took one right at the beginning.
Okay. Let's do once again and try to push the tempo just a little bit. See what
Okay.
happens. Yeah. I'm still not super convinced because so here's what I'm missing. When you play at the very beginning, and all then the subsequent however many measures, you have the sense of you have the sense of linear done very well. Okay, when you come to this particular section, I think you don't have that sense, and then mannerisms kick in, you know, and so you either have a choice of making the mannerisms big and important, for example. You know, where you're really juicing it up, and then we're kind of with you, you know. Or you have a chance, or you have a choice to say no to mannerisms. What is actually happening? There's a simplified phrase that is transitionary and it's leading us forward. The first one demands of us to really be dedicated to singular notes more, and maybe even fool around with fingerings that would support that. So not necessarily open string, but really, you know, something that supports that, or saying no. It's a phrase that has to sort of pass in a breath, you know, and remember that as it affects and pertains to the right hand technique, because sometimes when we're not sure what we want to do, you know, things like this start to happen, and then you know, and then the head bops and all of that stuff without us actually knowing that, you know. So I would say just make a deliberate choice one way or the other, and I think that should help. Now, structurally speaking, I would say, so okay, so Chacon, so I'm not sure really how important that the notion of the second beat is here, which is the characteristic of a Chacon, which is that we push towards that second beat. What I want to say though is that there's quite a bit of unclarity in terms of overall rhythm. Now, I understand you're stretching it, but you know, it's almost like you need the gum that you have, you can stretch it within its limits, you know. And if you stretch the gum over its limits, it breaks, and then you have to put it together again. Does that make sense? And that doesn't really work well in a piece like this, because then we lose, or really any piece, because we lose the sense of where we are. So I would say have this as an orientation point, where maybe, yes, you can always sort of place it, but make sure it doesn't fall out of that rhythmic contour that is so innate to that particular motive. So let's tackle just a few spots. Let's do the first one, and then let's jump to the second one that has that motive, and the third one, and then kind of compare. So from the beginning. Okay, that was good. So that was better than before, because before when you played that, already that second one was pulling it apart much more than perhaps needed. Okay. So make sure that, so even if you sort of go up and down, left and right with this passage, that you always remind us what this is. Okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Good. And then let's skip to line 3, measure. Well, line 3. Better. Good. The reason why it is always tricky also is because we have we start the phrase on the beat 3, right? If you and we, given how it starts, we have a feel that that is beat number 1, and that confuses us when this comes, right?
Right.
Or I guess is what it is here. Okay, which brings me to another point: how to actually start the phrase. Okay, so is it, and then, or is it, what I did here was I phrased in. I took the first note of that phrase, which is, this is line 3, the third beat of second measure. This is A and F. I played it as quietly as possible. It's a da da dee da da. Pretended like it came out of nothing. Okay, let's try that again. So this is line 3, please, directly. Very nice. Okay, so now things were like falling into place, you know, because you didn't push for that. You took time to assert that yum bum bum. Okay, and so that kind of started to make a little bit of sense. Now it's always the question how much freedom you want to take. I would want to say, as long as you don't disturb the general feel of meter, I think freedom is good, you know, in music like this. We do have a little bit of an issue, in my opinion, in that passage. And so forth, right? We need to feel that breath on the off, one off, right? And we need to have an immediate reaction from you. The way you were placing those 16th notes did not make sense in accordance to where you came from with the 8th notes and quarter notes, and it did not make much sense to me, at least, transitioning into triplets. You know, when composers use 8th notes, 16th notes, triplets, it's kind of like a pretty clear sign that they're trying to maneuver the beat around for their own compositional pleasure, right? If we distort this fully, we don't have the sensibility then of where 8th notes start and 16th notes and triplets, you know. And it's a cool thing when we actually feel that, you know. So could you make it less of a placement for the passage, and so forth, so and then so that we feel that very clearly. So start from, this is page 2, line 2, last measure. Bum bum bum. Okay, last thing about that passage, the end was beautiful. Could we make it less of a problem to have slurs in them? So oftentimes when you played slurs, PM, it affected the overall line. So slurs are here to help, not to impede. Okay, so is it possible that these don't become so much matter of attention, but more like just a little bit dent in the accentuation, right? Good. So just technically speaking, it just means easing up. a little bit on the pull off. Good. And let's have some concluding thoughts on the prelude. I would say for the prelude, try to make it pretty clear when you have. I think this would be maybe my biggest comment, I suppose. Try to make it pretty clear when you're prelude on the chords. For example, and then when the melody kind of like comes in and sort of like takes over, you know, when you have the preluding and it's just a chord, then all the notes can be more or less balanced. But when you have the melody versus the other things, you should attempt to rebalance things. For example, so let's say this is totally, every note is the same balance, and then where I prefer that place note and the other notes drop off in value and volume. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Good. And then two more spots, and then Ross is axing us. So this is just before you jump on those high chords right here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So could you prepare that jump better so that we don't feel like that chord is a downbeat? So we have. So somehow maybe you can slow down a little bit before, and then we dun 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 dun, but and not put so much space in between that we completely lose space and time. Try that. So just measure before. Beautiful. It was better because before you took a lot of time, and we kind of took it out of context. Personally, I would also maybe not play the and not so much. Maybe I would rather enjoy the full values of their sound instead of doing that. Good. Yeah, and I think we need to stop.
Okay.
It's a beautiful piece, and I would enjoy working on it much more. It's just gorgeous music. And thank you for bringing it to my attention.
Yeah.
I forgot it exists. Yeah, I haven't played much Tedesco in my career, but maybe the usual horses, the Capriccio Diabolico and whatever else it was. I don't remember, but this is gorgeous. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Where are you? Where are you located? Just by the way.
I'm at University of Louisville with Dr. Mattingly right now.
Okay, great, cool. Yeah. Louisville.
Bravo, Asher. Nice job.
Okay.
Way to go.
Thank you.
Hey.
All right, so next we have Landon Vandergriff. I did send you his music this time, Mac.
Yes.
He's going to be playing In Los Regales by Rodrigo. I'll also pull that music up here as well. So Landon, you ready to go, my friend?
Yeah, I'm ready when you are.
Okay, man.
Totally ready.
You ready, Mac?
I'm ready.
All right.
Great subito at the end.
Thanks.
Impressive. Just out of curiosity, could you please play this part first time? Just the first time, as it's at the first, comes around the first time. Okay, good. Cool. So, so let's see. This goes very well played. First of all,
Thank you.
I guess this goes both technically and musically speaking. I wonder if there's a way to have the insistent notes be just simply more insistent. Ya ta 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 ta. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I hear a lot of, and I mean, it's pretty natural for this to happen. Time, right? Or where the second note, the second 16th note of the within the eighth is always very, very weak. How do you practice that, for example, or maybe just that part that you just play?
Well, I just
okay, good. How do you practice that?
Just put a metronome on it, do it slowly. I try to bring out the bass and
How would you effectively tackle the issue of the second 16th note being much weaker? How would you solve it?
Practice it on the other end of the extreme. Try and accent that. So
yeah, that's a great example. Try it. Not so easy to do, right?
Yeah.
It's still rather, it kind of like flips us around. It's almost like watching ourselves in the mirror and trying to tackle the left side, but we go this way,
Yeah.
And you're sort of confused that way. So what I wanted to suggest is exactly what you said. I will just kind of upgrade it a little bit. So here's what I would be focusing on. So the first thing is to quickly put the index finger. I assume you're playing like this, right? And then index after that. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I would be focusing on is putting the index finger down as quickly as possible, and then from there push in and achieve an accent. So. Try. So think light completely until you place the index finger down on the string. Then you think accent, and you can go even slower. So think light and strong, light and strong. Once again. Good. Yeah. So when you're going to be able to have that be just just a matter of fact, so it's not going to be that big of an issue, that's when you're going to get the balance that you desire. Okay. Is your index finger in principle your weaker finger comparing? Like
yeah, I'd say my M is probably the strongest.
Okay, so then in just a technical standpoint, you need to do everything that you can to off balance that. Okay, because if you don't, you're just going to have it more and more, go to this side, and then the index and ring finger are going to fall behind. So you need to retrain the muscles just a little bit. So I would suggest just doing scales, or even just simple rhythmic patterns, even or of course a scale, or whichever thing involves the index middle, I don't know, middle ring, you know, combo, and always offset that accent. It's very important that we have our fingers in check and in balance, you know, so that whatever we play, we don't find ourselves in trouble, you know, by accident. Okay.
Yeah.
Good, great. So now, musically speaking, I think the tempo was fantastic. I would say the very opening of the piece, personally, I would prefer it to have just a little bit more rhythmic stability when you go here. So don't wait too long. Just observe the rhythm as is. Okay, so that we get a pretty clear picture as to what actually happens at the beginning. And what actually happens is this: 1, 2, and usually what I hear is, which I always then perceive as being beat number 1, and that offsets everything, you know. So what I would suggest is a pretty clear sort of like breath, not obnoxiously, of course, but something that is rather clear. So 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3, 2, and 1, 2, 3, right? Something that puts us in a bracket. Try. Beautiful. Okay, great, much better. So I would say hold the beat 3, the G, the prolonged G, for its full value. Don't jump off it soon, because what I heard was, that's what I heard. I want to hear it for the full value. Okay, and then when you approach the last note, depending on whether or not you're playing like this, or make sure that all notes are rather balanced. Try once more. Why the ritardando? Just curious.
'Cause I was thinking that I was going into the next section, which is like the kind of opposite of it, higher up, and also want to play a lot quieter. So kind of want to like ease into that.
Well, the next section is pretty clearly defined, leggero in its own right. Okay.
Okay.
Personally, what I feel, and you may disagree with that, is if we take an existing small introductory phrase and sort of like take it apart too much, we have a problem. We will probably have an issue setting everything in place moving forward, unless this idea of the intro is the idea of like complete sort of debauchelish freedom, and saying, okay, it's not until here. Oh, sorry, my bad. Where actually things start, that's a different interpretation. That's then we're really taking the introduction, out of context, saying, all right, this is the introduction. We're kind of fooling around with it. Personally, I think it's a little bit too much, but this is just my personal opinion. I would stick with the rhythm pretty diligently from the beginning. Okay.
Okay.
So try to play this whole introductory section, and let's see what comes up with that. Good. I mean, you can always argue that some articulation could be longer. Is it really or is it argument for against? Personally, I would play probably long notes. Because we're gonna have ample amount of short notes later on, anyhow. And also, I find it quite beautiful when there's a difference. And then where these ones are really short, you know, where it's really kind of, we show clear difference. It's not mixing and matching, you know, it's not like ketchup upon Nutella. It's like Nutella and ketchup, right?
Yeah.
So I personally, I appreciate that. So, but you know, in principle, good. I would say when you're moving forward, can you play from here? Okay, cool. So let's look at let's look at one line and then the other one. So we have one. And then that's the same as at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
In my opinion, there's some beauty in having this be a little longer than what we usually play because it's technically difficult. So having the voice have the sense of this syncopation that is always present. Always that syncopation, it always comes back to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So also here, I will try to hold it, but that means that here, or we would need to refinger things a little bit, right? So up here it and here the long note. So I would suggest the following fingering. It may be a little too difficult to tackle, but let's see. So we have, see? Or right? So we have or that, but where we clearly hear that voice being held over. So yeah, try one or the other. But can you place a little bit more accent on the ta da da dee dee? It starts having a nice Moorish lilt, you know,
Yeah.
and it becomes much richer than before. So again, just to clarify, we have hold note and relax, and here we have da dee dee or, you know, depending on what you want, but together it sounds rather cool. And so forth and so on, right? I mean, it becomes a rather interesting rhythmic thing. Now, I would like to jump forward to, sorry, line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, please. Line 5. It's where you have. Beautiful. Okay, so you're playing with a PI, okay? My favorite combination of all time of fingers, PI. I love it. Make sure that you practice that index accentuation. We don't want it to be off balance. Here it's perhaps even bigger danger because the thumb is so strong as a finger, you know, pi and bi and bi and bi, right? Pa, 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 pa. I certainly spent a lot of time practicing, you know. Or in this case, it would be. So that you can have really all the notes carry a lot of bullet power, you know.
Okay, yeah.
You know, it's having a lot of character. Now, I want to take a look at this part coming in. I really love when this becomes like this little mirage in the in the desert, sort of
Yeah.
something that is completely sort of offset and sunny, sunshine outside, tra la 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 la, and then all of a sudden you go back to this, which you were sort of doing, but I would like for you to polish it out a little bit. So could you play line 6, please, or even just for you, just this. Sorry, once again, please. Ta-da-dum-bum, once again. No, the one measure before. Ta-da-dum. You're playing one too many Fs. Ta-da-dum. One too many Fs. Ta-da-dum. Nope, one too many. Ta-da-dum.
Oh, okay.
Good. Very nice. So keep in mind that you can always polish it better. Okay? The idea is there. It's very good. The idea is very clear. But you can always polish it by really have it either more legato or something. Okay? Here, how do you finger this, please?
So P for the bass, and then I use M and A, and then just slur onto the A, and then with I. What was that?
Play, please. Fast, like in tempo. It's almost good. So I would suggest trying what's written in terms of the slurring, just because I really want a clear the second, the F sharp to G, to come at the very last moment, so that we have boom, ba-da-da-da-da, boom, ba-da-da-da-da, boom. Because when you play, it's more pum, pa-ra-ra-ra-ra, tum, ta-ra-ra-ra-ra. It's more equal to the 16th note, almost like a swingy triplet, pum, pa-ra-ra-ra-ra. But in this case, tum, pa-ra-ra-ra-ra, tum, pa-ra-ra-ra-ra. Try to think of it as short as possible, because it's difficult anyway, and it's going to be widened. Okay, so really place this upon this.
Like that?
Yeah, so just think of this to be kind of glued to that.
Okay.
Instead of the F sharp and G coming right after A. Yeah, so I would say practice it slow.
Okay.
Wait a while on the A, and then wait on the A, so that you place clear differentiation between the two. Okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Good. Okay, because we just want that syncopation to be very, very active and very clear. Okay? Not sort of mushed in because it's difficult. Now, I would like to also hear this. So this would be the following line, or I guess similar line. Yeah.
That section?
No, once again, please, same spot.
Give me a second. Lost it.
Are those the right notes, Landon? So we have a D natural on top in the second bar. So
Oh. Okay. So give me a second here. I'm trying to get the two screens up at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so with that, the oh, it goes down. Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Good. So once again, please. Good. I just want to kind of state that I would love to have the rhythm and so the rests versus when you actually play be pretty straightforward here, because it's so angular, you know, that if we mush the borders a little bit, we don't get a clear picture as to what it is. So it's a 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Or if you want to, you can also think of it as long 3, as 1, 2, 3. You can also think of it as that way, but pretty clear in terms of play, rest, play, rest, play, rest. Okay?
Okay, yeah.
Try that spot again. Okay, good. And I'll show you one other trick. I'm not sure if you're gonna like it here, but this one is although you played that very well, but I a long time ago when I played this piece, I used this trick. And so it's like the melisma, right? So what I do is like I do the little Alvaro Pieri / Segovia kind, where I kind of focus the chord onto the top note. It sounds very cool. Yeah, I'm not. It's it's not for everyone, and I'm not sure if it's the best thing to do, but it's a really cool sound. I mean, it's a really cool.
Yeah, definitely different.
Yeah, so see if you can practice it. I mean, and sing it for the one below. Let's see. I was prompted that we only have about 60 seconds left, so I'll try to say everything I have in 60 seconds.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Let's just look at the very tail end. So we have. So I would say treat every single note as if it's very beautiful, important, cello-like. You're enjoying that vibrato, and you're not short-handing anything. You're really sort of like juicing it up. Try to tempo secondo or allegro alla marcia. You can do that part too. But once again, the second D, really, and distant chords now, distant. Beautiful. Machine gun, yes. Beautiful. Don't overplay the string. Nice. Know your limits. Know the limits of the guitar. Beautiful. Distant in the Spain. Lontano. Beautiful, right?
Yeah.
Great, great. And then the coda itself, although I appreciated that, it actually says, that's what it says, right? Yeah.
Okay.
So one measure more. You shorten that measure a lot. So 1, 2, measure. Make sure that that measure is there.
Okay.
So just coda. Yeah, good. So
Okay.
okay, so it's just treated rhythmically, I would say, will be the best thing that you could do.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's it. Yeah. I wish we had more time. It's like the previous piece. So beautiful, so great. But Ross is the boss.
No. I'm just trying to play timekeeper so everybody
Ross the
gets
boss.
his fair share.
Landon, thank you very much for playing.
Thank you. Thanks for the class.
Yeah.
Great job, Landon. Bravo.
Great job.
Nicely
Bravo.
done. Really well done. So, all right, we are on our last performer, and we do have just enough time, thankfully.
Yep.
So, Sonia, you're up. Are you ready to go still?
All right.
Hello.
Beautiful.
All right. We can see
Okay.
you, and you're ready to go. So, Sonia, whenever you're ready.
Sonia,
Yeah.
sorry, I just wanted to ask, do you still study with Jeremy?
Yes.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, say hi to him, okay?
Okay.
How are his daughters doing? Have you seen them?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cute,
Yeah.
cute. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
beautiful. Okay. All right. Good to go. Beautiful, Sonia. Wonderful. You prompted me to whip out my capo. So I have it right there. 1 second. Okay, here we go. It's been a while since I used a capo. There we go. Good. Okay, Sonia, before we kind of dive in, I would love for you to just kind of slowly play for me page 3. That part. So wherever, pick wherever you want. Beautiful. Okay, I was just trying to, the bass notes have a lot of character in that particular passage. So my ear was going, oh, is everything all right? But it seems according to the score that you're playing just fine. Okay, so let's go to the beginning. And do you know anything about Mr. Alonso Mudara?
I mean, not really.
Right. Good. So from Spain, right? And he was the style of music that he wrote was very similar to the music of Gaspar Sanz, for example. And they all played a I guess this is for vihuela, and but there was this thing called the guitar even back then, where there were certain kind of ways that they would play passages, for example. Okay, and those entailed oftentimes a lot of cross stringing. Now, this is I just want to paint a certain picture. Of course, I don't want to sort of get in Jeremy's way, because I know he has a plan for how to work on the piece, but just to show you a little bit. So for example, okay, and then so each passage, or even it's a little bit hard to read that way, but you see, you get quite a different sound out of the passage work there. So make sure you kind of remember that, and when you work with Jeremy again, see what he thinks about that, and if he thinks it's sort of worth integrating and exploring, then he'll probably show you how the fingerings work, okay? Because it'll have to do with some kind of a cross string sort of combinations, okay? But he may very well say, let's not bother with it. But I just wanted to kind of paint a little picture for you. Now, you mostly played all of the passages just right with your just full-on notes. Is that correct?
Mm.
Okay, so I would suggest that we try at least one thing. So because the passages here have ta-da-da-dum, da-da-da-dum, 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 it's always this kind of like cascading. I would say let's try what happens if, for example, in passage in measure 4, 5, 6, we add the slur between C sharp and D sharp. So each C sharp to D sharp, let's put a little hammer on in between and see what happens. Try. So this is measure 4.
Okay. Do you want me to play, or do you want you to play?
Please, you go.
So,
You go right ahead.
right there.
They're right there.
Like, is that right?
It's almost right. It's almost right. So you have a little bit of kind of like a different bump on the roads there in the middle, but that's about right. So I'm only saying this, Sonia, because this kind of like makes a passage sound just a little bit different. So let's compare. Versus. So what is different? Can you tell me?
I mean, it felt like when you weren't doing the hammer-ons, the notes were almost getting cut off, kind of like hopping back and forth. When, as in you were doing the hammer-ons, it felt like it was kind of flowing into the other one.
And that flowy feeling is exactly what I'm suggesting here. That it's very impressive when you play everything very ta 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 tum. But there's some kind of beauty with these hammer-ons. So for example, measure 4/5, I would suggest that you explore putting a hammer-on, maybe just writing it in between C sharp and D sharp. In measure 8, 9, 10, let me see. So it's a similar pattern. So I would do E to F sharp, for example, here.
Like this?
Exactly. Subsequence. Exactly. So ultimately, you get, instead of you get something that is much lighter. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the next one would be this one. Would be F sharp to G, and then the last one would be, I suppose, G to A if I were to follow my logic. But but this is just one thing that, Sonia, I would like for you to remember. Okay, the two different kinds of tackling this passage. And then going to Jeremy and then talking what you guys think would be the best thing to do right there. Okay, I just wanted to give you two options. Now, would you mind playing from the very beginning once again? So just 4 measures, for example, 4 or 5 measures. Sonia? Well, fantastic, thank you. Do you know if when I say, for example, let's think of the phrase as if we're thinking of whole measures versus half measures. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Not really.
Okay, so I'll demonstrate, all right?
Okay.
I'll demonstrate. All right, so here's half measure. See, so half notes, right? Essentially.
Yeah.
Right? So here's the whole measure. What is the difference?
I felt like the whole measure was kind of spread out, the whole measure.
So yeah, exactly. It's exactly what it is. So if we think of the phrase, or if we think of kind of like conducting in within ourselves, as per each measure, then everything becomes much more light. Okay. So and the reason why I'm saying this is because so if you look at the second measure, right, we have this just one chord, nothing really much happens in that measure, it's just this one chord, right? So in my mind is, okay, why would we stress the third note? Why would we stress the E, which is the second half note, so much? It's not actually that important, which then brings me to think maybe it would be better if we think of the phrase as made out of whole measures rather than half measures, which would then mean for you, Sonia, the following. So you do a breath. This is the second half note, and then here's the one. So that you always kind of more phrase towards or sit on the one of each measure instead of the one and then the second half note. Okay, let's try. So big breath at the beginning. Yam bayan dum bum dun da bayan dum bum bum. Try. Good. We missed that breath at the beginning. So dum da dum. So make a breath. Don't forget to breathe. Support to breathe. Dum bayam light boom. Bum bum. Once again. Would you mind, Sonia? Last thing. Sorry, I'm being so pesky. Would you mind playing that E, the first E, a little less, so that the C sharp on the next on the actual first next measure becomes more the stronger here. Okay, try. Beautiful, beautiful. And what that does when you play, so continue playing right where you are and think about longer. Don't think about small notes. La, 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 la. Just think about, okay, I've started playing. Here's where I need to go right here. It's kind of far away. Not, but here I start. Here's where I'm going. Okay. Yeah. Try that. So measure 4. So think like far.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Hello? Ross, are we here?
Did we lose our connection?
Looks like we lost Sonia.
Oh, no.
Oh, Sonia's
there
back.
she is. There she is.
Sonia's back. And I hear an echo.
Yeah, there was an echo.
I do not hear an echo anymore. Oh, fantastic. Okay, Sonia, let's try one more thing. So for example, even just the passage at 4. Instead of starting strong on the first A, try to start on that A as quiet as possible. And then build a long crescendo like this. Final note. Okay, long crescendo. Try again. Pace yourself even more, like really wait. No need to start going loud very quickly. Just pace yourself and wait. Beautiful. Okay, last time you can do even more. Really quiet. No, not even a cat can hear you. Really quiet. Beautiful. Let's try that same thing and measure 10. So the next passage.
Okay.
Beautiful. Measure 14. Measure 14. Same thing. Quiet. Not even a cat can hear you.
Is that right?
Almost. It's a C natural where you start.
That's wrong.
That is wrong. So you have exactly. Good.
Okay. Good.
Sonia, that was good. We were progressing towards something called recognizing a phrase. Okay, on a guitar, it is so easy, as you put so very well yourself just a moment ago. Every note has a little bit of, what did you say? Kind of like chopped or something, right? Like ta 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 ta, right? So very easy on the guitar to play like that. So things like this, where we can control the phrase, where, for example, we can start very soft, very soft, and hold that softness for a long time. It makes us believe that we're playing more legato. I'll show you once again. So for example, the verses. Right? It's almost like, oh, finally that final note came, and we had more of a feel of legato. You know, legato having the notes very much connected. Okay, good. The other part that I was quite curious about would be, where does that start? Yeah, let's play from there. That was
Okay.
very good groove. That
You want me to just play there?
Yes, 53.
How? Okay.
Very good. Okay, so what we have, Sonia, can you tell me what you actually hear? So and so forth and so on, and then we're starting to climb up again, right? So we're on the top of the hill, and then where are we going?
At the top of we go back down.
We go down, and then
Yeah.
and then
What? And then back up.
and then back up. Okay, so what can we do to help that going down and then back up? What can we do?
You could start quieter.
Yeah, we could fool around with decrescendo and crescendo. Okay, let's try that. Let's try from where you just played. So do a long decrescendo until you come here, and then you start building again, and then everything breaks loose at the very end, because this is where things start to finally cook. You know. It's very hard to play. You're playing this wonderfully. But all that to say, when they start to cook at the very end, okay, we need to like boil it slow, not high heat, so that everything explodes. We need to boil it slow, because you have about almost a whole page still to go left. This one big crescendo. Okay, so let's try and see how we can tackle this successfully. So here's 53.
Do you want me to play it?
Yes, please. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Good. And now be patient with crescendo after this. Be patient, okay? You have a long way to go. So start right here. That's already super loud. Start quiet.
Okay. See.
Like a cat creeping in, you know, or I don't know, something scary happening, you know. Really be careful that the first thing that happens is not getting a snowball in the head, you know. It's you're really sort of like slowly climbing up the ladder or something. I'm not sure what a good metaphor would be, but start from there. So from this chord. Good. Good. So two things that I want to mention. First, just the very end. So we have a little quick sort of burst of notes at the very tail end. I think that you are not playing. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. So don't forget to play that. Try. Just this is the last two measures. once again, please. Beautiful. Can we have a little hammer on at the very end and then really connect to this? So that the last bit is connected to the last chord. Try.
Like that. Did I put the hammer on the right spot?
You're on the right spot, but what I want to hear is this. So the last bit very connected. So maybe you could just try from the 16th note. Much better once again. Beautiful. Can you play now for him?
Wait, is this here?
Yep, that's good. That's good. That's a good
Here?
spot. Good. So remember the last bit are a few fast notes, leading to the chord. Okay, so don't slow down too much on that. Okay, much better. Good. And now the last thing that I want to mention is the way we are playing the bass in this part. I would say that it is good if all the notes are legato, but it is probably even better and with more character if some of them are a little bit shorter. So I would say maybe the quarter notes, and then so long again, short, long, I would say try to play those two pairs a little shorter. So this is Sonia measure 62. You have the A and the B in the bass. Okay. And then you have C7, the B and the C.
Okay.
Exactly those two notes, yeah. So ask Jeremy to show you how it's going to have to do something with the combination of the way the fingers work in the right hand. Because, for example, look closely. So if I have so these fingers are acting as if nothing is happening, and this one has its own brain. Okay, so you have once again. See what I mean?
Yeah.
So make a little marking for that. And then ask and then discuss with Jeremy and see if he can show you how that works. It's sometimes, you know, the right hand is funny, right? Because all the fingers are kind of connected, but really in reality, every finger has to have its own brain, its own identity, you know? So so that you are able to sometimes say, oh, I want to play this line like this, but this line I want to play like that, and not if I play this line legato, this is going to be legato as well, or if I play this one short, this is going to be short as well, right?
Yeah.
It's you have to have the ability to play different things at the same time, and it's very cool when you can manage that. Okay, but it will be easier if Jeremy just shows you exactly how that works. But it'll sound great when in the end when you're able to master it. Okay.
Okay.
Very cool. Otherwise, great playing, Sonia. I mean, it's really you seem incredibly talented. How old are you, if I may ask?
I'm 11.
Oof, fantastic. At 11, I was playing Twinkle Twinkle. Yeah, beautiful.
Great job, Sonia.
Compliments to Jeremy. And you. You're the one playing.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Cool. Well, this was great.
Thanks, Mac. Thanks so much for the great class. Always some great suggestions that you give the students to take on and continue applying. And I'll just say to all of our participants today who played, really take these comments to heart and practice them in other contexts. A lot of what Mac said is applicable not only to the spot you were working on, but just truths that transcend the moment. They're really, really great. Thanks again for the great class.
Cool. So I'll see you then tomorrow, right?
That's right, yeah.
Tomorrow
We'll
at
see
some
you.
time.
Yes, yes, at 6 we'll be watching the competition finals.
Okay.
Bye, Sonia.
Beautiful. All right, bye guys. It was such a
Bye.
pleasure.
Bye-bye.
See you in person at some point.
Yes, yes, indeed.
Bye. Nice to meet you. Bye, Ross.